You're here. Fantastic. You are my assistants, I believe. Yes, from the college. Well, I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you for coming by. I know it's a bit of a shuffle having brought you in kind of halfway through this project, but I really appreciate you being here. Yeah, so I'm sure that Terry gave you a little bit of the rundown what's happening, but I'm going to go everything with you a little bit and get you informed about what you're going to be helping me do today. So, were you given a viewing of the Site 35? Yes, okay. Well, your whole work is going to be with me evolved around this specimen we have here. So in the zone 35 that Terry must have shown you, right? Yeah, perfect. This is a piece of sediment that has a very special fossil inside. It has what we believe is a T-Rex tooth. Yes, one of the back molars that we believe is going to maybe have some very important signs of the end of life and the end of the era that the T-Rexes were living in. So, this piece was removed separately as it was discovered at a later time than some of the other fossils and things found in the zone. So this has been removed to be a special piece that we're going to take back to the lab in a moment and go over and finish the extraction of. Yeah. Yes, and so your job is going to be to help take notes, take photos of the fossil and of the whole process as I go along and excavate it myself. Yeah, so as an assistant, as you probably know from the college, you're not quite qualified yet to do the excavating yourself, but you will be monitoring me as well as, again, the helping of the photographing, the note-taking, any collection of specimens or dirt fragments, things like that. Yeah, and we much appreciate your help here and having college students like yourself come in and assist us, because it takes us quite a while on our own to go back and forth between the note-taking, the excavating itself, etc. So practice and experience for you, and a little more help for us. For sure. Yeah, so the process just today is we're going to go take this to the lab. We're going to go layer by layer, talking through everything as you take your notes. I've got some special flag markers as well to mark any notes, notable points of interest, etc. We're going to go around with tools like my magnifying glass here, brushes, excavating, little devices to remove this guy and see what information he can tell us. Okay, that's fantastic. Do you have any questions before we get started? Yeah, no worries. Let me know if you have anything, okay? For sure. So if you got all your supplies there, we're going to make our way over to the lab. Okay, great. Let's go. Okay, dear. So if you are all situated and ready to get started, we are going to start on digging up and note-taking on this lovely T-Rex specimen. Okay, as you can see here, I've got my different supplies. I've got my large brush, my small brush. I've got tweezers. I've got my special pick here. We're going to do all our digging with. You will be, in the future, if you continue on with this work, using one that's got a serrated side and then a sharper flat side, depending on the terrain. I've also got here 3 of these little flags that are going to go in and mark anything of note. Okay. As well, I've got the magnifying glass. Okay. And the light, okay? That will give us any extra light if we need to see the specimen further, see any little details, etc. Okay, as well, it's got another mode. It's more of a laser, okay? Do you have any questions before we get started? For sure. So you're just going to be going as I dig along here. You're going to just be sitting back, taking notes on the books that I gave you and things, and that, yes, that you have from college. Excellent, excellent. You're going to be using those to go through and take notes as I dig away at the specimen here, okay? Does that sound okay to you? Excellent, excellent. Let's get started. I'm just going to be talking about things that are happening here, what tools I'm using, etc., as we go through all the process. So I would like you to take as many notes as possible as I talk. You don't need to word for word write what I'm saying. I rather you summarize what's going on, the process that I'm using, etc. Okay. Good. Feel free if you have any questions to go ahead and ask, okay? Excellent, excellent. So, brief rundown of some things you can start taking notes on in terms of the type of surrounding sediment that we're dealing with. As I brush just this excess sand and sediment away. So we've got this harder rock shell. We are still trying to process in the lab what type of rock that we believe this is. But no matter what it is, it's a very old, very solid form of rock. And so this is why actually we're doing this piece in the lab, partially due to the fact that this piece was removed at a later time than the rest of the fossils that were in easy access. This one was only by chance by one of our newer techs discovered to have a possible fossil inside of it after some of the rock sediments were put through some x-rays and different things when they were trying to determine what type of rock we were working with. So this was a very, very lucky find. But we do know that the sediment on the inside actually is helping preserve the inner fossil here. It's a very soft, more rare type of sand. It is one of the softest types of sand in the world. It's also one of the whitest types of sand in the world. As you can see, it is very, very light. Do you have enough light with the special headlights here to see everything? Yes, okay. For sure. But yeah, so the whole team was very excited to be working with this fossil today. And excited to see that even the rock and the sand within it are very special. So, get my space a little better sorted here. Okay, we're ready to begin the official excavation. For sure. So currently in this process, I'm going to be going through and digging around a bit, as you can see here. there are quite a few different types of rocks and divots mixed in here, around here, and up here that were originally covering the tooth fossil. Okay, so we're going to go through and excavate those out first, and then we'll be going and then dealing with the rest of the sand here. Okay. Currently using the serrated side. To dig away at these parts that are sorry if anything gets on you there. Okay, excellent. As you see here, I'm trying to very carefully pick away at these very sharp bits surrounding the fossil here. This is the toughest part, is dealing with these bits of excess stone surrounding it. As I don't want to damage the fossil. Okay, switch to the flatter side here. Okay. Sorry if it's getting a little dusty everywhere. Because this is such soft sand, it's pretty loose, it's pretty light, and so it kind of just gets absolutely everywhere. There, so you see, we've freed quite a bit of this side of the fossil now. So I'm going to move on to this side here, on the upper side, okay? Because you can see here, there's some leftover sediment at the top but I want to be very, very careful with that, so I will come back to that later. I just want to more so focus on removing all of these sections. Okay. It's a very interesting, I don't want to say purple color, but it's got a very purple tone to it. Sorry about that. Got sand flying everywhere. Is your note taking going okay? Good, good, good. What are you currently taking notes on? Excellent, yeah. That's great. You seem to know what you're doing. Oh, that is a big, look at that. It's a mixture of sand and other rock sediment. Yes. Fantastic, fantastic. I'll set that aside as a whole sample. Okay. So that piece is there. Get my tiny brush here actually for a second. I want to make sure that none of these pieces are none of these pieces are anything I may have accidentally broke off the fossil. No, we seem to be okay there. Still, how does it look to you? Still okay? Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing any issues so far, so that is fantastic. This is going quite smoothly. Actually, much more smoothly than a lot of those other fossils we had discovered and we're trying to excavate back in zone 35, so it's excellent. is really shaping up to be quite a big tooth. Look at that. I'd say make note of, again, this purplish vein that's happening right through here, as you can see. It's traversing from the proximal to the distal end of the tooth, thinning out by the time it hits the point over there. This is fascinating because so far, from what I can deduce, this might be a fully intact tooth. Yeah. I believe that it might have been a molar at first. Yeah, as I was saying out in the field, but now just with digging and excavating this entire fossil, it's shaping out to be much larger and, like I said, more intact than I expected it to be. So this may in fact actually be a incisor. As you see, it's very sharp and round. Lots of sediment poking up here. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Purpose is going very well on this side, so I'm going to move to the front here. Are starting to cramp just a little bit. Oh, this is so exciting. It's quite deep here. I'm going to move back to this side again as we make our way quite close to removing this bad boy. Pictured. Right there, okay, I see. Thank you for pointing that out. Harder sediment down here on this side. Your note taking still going okay so far? Yeah, okay. I understand. That's great though. Thank you. I know this is all new to you, so don't worry. Take your time. It's not like you can't take notes later. Look at that. Getting, I want to say, fairly close to being able to remove the fossil from the sediment. Lifting to see how much more digging I must do here. Making a large mess here. Part of the job. Magnifying glass isn't even getting covered. That's okay. If it looks like I'm being a little too harsh, that's okay. Seems the sediment has just hardened a little bit more than the top layers were, so to be a little bit more tough to remove all of it. I think that I'm quite close to freeing it now. I have to do the painfully difficult, meticulous digging underneath so as to not rip the fossil right out of the sediment here. Oh, but I got a little bit of lift there. Look at that. What size do you think that would be? Yeah, I think somewhere in that range. And width-wise, yeah, it's widest. Wow. It's definitely the largest so far, seemingly fully intact. Uh-oh, fossil specimen. It's coming quite loose now. That we've discovered so far on this dig. A little bit of give happening up here. There's a little bit of give happening up here at the top. So I can see that end is quite free. It's just going to be, I believe, this back end here. A little bit more work. Oh yes, I'm seeing that far corner now. We're just about there. Got a little more give. If you don't mind pausing your note taking and just taking a couple pictures for me actually before we remove it fully from the sediment, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. The camera is to your left there. That's fantastic. Thank you. just about there. That's perfect, thank you. That's enough pictures. Okay, well, are you ready for us to remove this tooth? I think so. So, let us begin. Ever so, oh wow, gently. Wow, look at that. There's still some sediment left behind, but we'll clean it off after. Oh wow, it's quite heavy too. See all those. Yeah, and it's leftover sediment here. Wow, that's amazing. And I cannot tell if it's hollow here actually. Let me gently go in. Gentle as possible. It's hard, I can't use a lighter tool just because the sediment has solidified so much here. Ah, yeah, you see there. Okay. Let's actually use a big brush here for a second. Look at that. Yeah, so it's not. It's got the magnifying glass right here. It's not fully. Sorry, it's a little bit dirty. It's not hollow. It just was filled. Yeah, like I was saying. So it's quite hefty. I'd say it's at least half a pound. Yes. Let me just quickly remove this sediment here, and then we'll place our markers. Have you ever seen one of these before? This is your first in-person fossil. Well, I'm glad and excited for you, and I'm glad to be one of the first people to experience one of these with you. Okay, well, we're going to set this beautiful specimen aside, and I'm going to take it to wash in a moment with our special cleaning system that's very careful with it. But I'm going to set this aside, and before we do that, I'm going to do some quick markers in the note here for the sand and the depth of location, okay? So this first marker is going to be here. This is to mark where the lowest and the biggest end of the tooth that would attach to the gums and the mouth was located here, okay? Yeah, because the team is going to preserve this sediment for future testing in the lab, both for soil levels, depth levels, things like that, okay? So we always keep this, it's very important. Then we're going to mark the very top where the tip of the tooth was, on the very sharpest point. It's no longer very sharp, I believe, between erosion sand, whether it has been smoothed down a bit, but it doesn't take away from how terrifyingly large it is. I don't think we have many animals in our current world today that have teeth that big. Maybe other than some aquatic life like great white sharks and things. Alright, and finally, we've got this third marker here that I'm just going to place in sediment here, at the very top. This is just to mark and solidify that I want the team to test this sand here, okay? Because they did some tests on the surrounding rock already, but this is a very important newer type of sand that wasn't located in any of the other zones that we were looking at and excavating these past couple weeks. So it's very, very, very important. Yeah, so this is it's not what you will be dealing with. All these different markers are for the teams that deal with particularly like the minerals, the rocks, sediment, the layering systems, things like that. That is just their primary job, so you won't be doing any of that. For sure. We will hand this off to the respective team members, and then we're going to go ahead and clean this lovely specimen off, and then I will meet you back in my office where we're going to go over things together, and I will dictate as you finish some final notes about the final details of the tooth. Okay? Excellent. Thank you. Okay, dear. Well, it has been cleaned as best as possible because I was only able to use some slight materials on it with the machine. We're going to give it another clean later, but I thought for now we might as well get our recordings before we package this one away into a safe space. So you have all your notes ready? Fantastic. Good. We're ahead of the game. So, don't mind the dirt here. As you can see here, we have some very interesting things to note that I want you to take down, okay? About this tooth. In length, it is about 2 inches long. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know how you can see that, full and deep, jagged edges, serrations in the tooth. So whether that was it was tearing at some food and like ripped something across its teeth, whether it was maybe from fights against other predators, etc. I'm not sure. We'd have to do some more testing on that. But it's very interesting to note. There is as well this purple residue left behind that we believe is a type of sediment, okay? Sediment. Left behind from how long it might have been sitting and fossilized in the ground. So we're going to be passing that on to the other team that's going to help us get an actual date for the approximate age of the fossil. It is, if you can continue to take your notes, it's very brown, the tooth, but it's also quite noted with hints of purple everywhere, which is very fascinating. Yes. As well as tiny specks of black as well, which I find the most fascinating. Usually when you think about teeth, fossilized teeth, you're thinking about them being like a white, ivory color, instead of being this very, very interesting mix of like dark brown, speckles of black, even the tones of purple. Yeah. Etc. Am I speaking too fast, or you're doing okay with your notes there? Good. Okay. Fantastic. Moving along, there is as well this kind of jagged, lined, as you can see there. Yeah, you see that? Strange marking that's right from the base of the tooth all the way up and to the top of the tooth on this side and this side here on both sides. So again, I don't know if that's maybe it was scraping against its own teeth, made the body of, again, prey, other predators, who knows. That shall be tested in the future as well, but please make note of that. And then if actually we look at the very interesting base here of the tooth, we have some very interesting things to see. Okay, so it's very jagged on the edges here, if you can see. It looks very much like almost it was broken off, and you can see there's coagulated, very old, possibly blood here from when the tooth ripped out. That will have to be tested as well, but that is my hypothesis, that no matter if these markings and the tooth being ripped out happened at the same time, maybe in the same fight or feeding, I'm unsure, but I can definitely tell at some point when this tooth became fossilized, it was at some point removed from its owner, or at least lost into the ground before it became fossilized. Yeah, it's so jagged. Yeah, exactly. And then finally, on the interior, on the inside here, the colors are the same as the rest of the tooth. It's just got more of, again, that dried look to it, for sure. Yeah, very much like it had been ripped out from its owner. Okay. Do you have any other observations, notes, things that you'd like to write down about this specimen before we head out? Okay, good. Yeah, just going over your notes for sure. Yeah, I'll let you do that for a moment, and then I'm just going to take a look at it here. The jagged edges. 3, 4. Got the line, the pointiness, and the breaking edge. Okay, all finished? Fantastic, dear. Well, I am so happy to have worked with you today. Thank you so much for your help with all the note-taking, the research, the photography, etc. I really appreciate it. Yes, and I think you will make a fantastic paleontologist one day. Yeah, well, maybe you'll be assigned with me in the future. That'd be lovely. Well, I'm off to take this specimen to be packaged and sent to the lab for further testing before we get ready to send it off back to the museum. Okay? Alright, well, thank you again for your help, and I will see you later. Okay, take care now, dear. Bye-bye.